Hello, everyone. It's Shane Conto, your Wasteland reviewer, and welcome to the Wasteland Watchlist here on the SPM Crew Podcasting Network. And this is my weekly show where my guest and I play some movie roulette from my enormous, completely random watch list. And hopefully, by the end of this episode, you have something you want to go check out too. And joining me is Mike Hilty, our fearless leader from the SPM Crew Podcasting Network. Thank you so much for coming on.
Looking forward to chatting about this one and all the double entendres and just the linguistics and all that shit. So yeah, let's do it.
So we're talking about 1941's Ball of Fire. So let me read this synopsis, as this is only a film that could possibly come out in the 40s. A group of professors working on a new encyclopedia while living in a Manhattan mansion take in a mouthy nightclub singer who is wanted by the police to help bring down her mob boss lover. What?
That is a lot of
But
plot that we're stuffing into this.
and this is directed by Howard Hawks. But this was released December 2nd, 1941. Ooh, that was close.
That was close. Yeah.
That's close to
That's
a day of infamy.
mm.
Um, this is an hour and 51-minute film. At the box office, it made about $2.6 million. Like I said, directed by Howard Hawks, based on A to Z by Thomas Munro and Billy Wilder. So they came up with this story. This was before Billy Wilder started directing himself, starring Gary Cooper and Barbara Stanwyck. A nightclub performer teaches a bunch of professors words on an encyclopedia because like they needed some different kind of culture
They
to
needed
shake things up.
slang. That's all it is. This Potts is on a mission to just learn as much slang, and the only one that can teach him the proper slang that is encyclopedia worthy is Sugar Puss O'Shea, which boy, James
What's
Bond
better,
just
that or
really
Pussy
really
Galore, Mike?
uh Sugar Puss O'Shea. I don't know why. Maybe it's because the sugar, like the fact that sugar is in front of puss like that, just I think the only thing missing from that is just like smacking a girl on the ass. Cause that's just what it feels like when you say a name like that. It's like, ew.
How's it
God.
going, Sugar Puss?
Wink.
It's what our grandfathers said to back in the day. Um, Next, and this was actually selected for the National Film Registry by the Library of Congress in 2016.
Oh.
Hawks recycled the plot to 1948's A Song is Born for this particular film. Not A Star is Born, A Song is Born.
Mhm.
Martha Tilton provided Stanwyck's singing voice, so Barbara Stanwyck did not actually do her own singing. Wilder studied Hawks directing this project so he could launch his own directorial career.
Hmm.
So, very interesting. This is the second Cooper Stanwyck collaboration after Meet John Doe. Ginger Rogers and Carol Lombard turned down Stanwyck's role, and Lucille Ball was also almost cast in the role.
Lucille
And
Ball would have been great
would
in
have
this
been
role.
very interesting. And this was nominated for 4 Academy Awards for Actress, Barbara Stanwyck, Best Music Scoring of a Dramatic Picture, Best Sound Recording, and Best Story. And
Hmm.
this was 92nd on AFI's 100 Years, 100 Laughs.
Hmm.
So this is actually a pretty high profile film that I had never heard of.
I've never heard of this before. I mean, I've heard of the story of this because this story is Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Yes. So this was actually a creative live action adaptation of Snow White. And instead of diamond mining dwarves, we have
Nerds.
a bunch of nerds. Which also I do want to point out. So we have Henry Travers as Professor Jerome, aka Clarence,
Hmm.
getting him them wings. And Professor Oddly, played by Richard Hayden, is one Max from The Sound of Music, except done up to be an old man. And he's also the voice of the caterpillar from Alice in Wonderland. Who
Oh,
are you?
smug asshole. Yeah,
So
okay, interesting.
I'm like, that voice is very familiar. And I'm like, that is the voice actor that did Alice in Wonderland. And then I found out that is the same person who was in The Sound of Music. And that blew my mind. But
Mhm.
Mike, what are your general thoughts on Ball of Fire?
There's a lot going on in this movie. You know, between first of all, how of the time is this that God, how many years did they spend not finishing this encyclopedia? They spent years,
Years.
years,
And they're like, well,
years,
we'll probably need about another 5 years to finish this project.
5 years to add in slang, and they need like eight of them to research. Like I did find that kind of interesting that like all of these people or all of these professors, they specialize in like one specific thing. I thought that was really cool. One could say that this is the Avengers movie of 19 what year did this come
41.
out? 1941? Yeah, where all of these superheroes of industry and of academia come together to write an encyclopedia that never gets finished. But then you have this storyline with Sugar Puss. I mean, her name's what? Kathleen or Catherine at the end that you find out one of
Mm-hmm.
those two. But you have the situation
Yep.
with her mob lover,
Yep.
like um and you're not exactly sure. It's like, wait a second, like what is happening right now? Does she actually like Potts, or does she is she just using him? And at first it's like, yeah, she's clearly using
Mm.
using him as a place to like lay low and a place to stay. So I like the callback to how she, like wet her the back of her neck with
Mm.
a cold towel when she gets all flustered by him. I thought that was cute.
Mm.
And then I think one thing that I do give this a lot of credit for, I thought the dialogue in this was fantastic.
Mm.
Just the everything with, just the play on words and just how things are explained. Um, I thought the script was really sharp, and I
Mm.
really appreciated it. And it does feel a little bit like a play. And I get like I didn't know that, and I was like, oh, this feels very theatrical. And now I get it. It's like, well, yeah, no shit, it is very theatrical.
Yeah. Because, like, obviously, this is based off of, like, this is co written by Billy Wilder,
Mhm.
who is one of the sharpest screenwriters in, like, the history of cinema. So,
Yep.
like, it only makes sense. And I just, what a time. Because now we get rom coms that are literally just the same cookie cutter BS over and over and over again. Shit was wild back then.
Yeah.
Like, Bring Up Baby is about what? A freaking leopard?
Mhm.
like, like these have the most wild, like, what the guy's a paleontologist and like all these most random weird things. And like this movie, you have Gary Cooper playing a professor working on an encyclopedia, and he falls in love with a mob,
Mouthy, a
the mouth.
mouthy nightclub singer. You cannot forget that she is mouthy. Only in
Yep.
the 40s would we get you know, such a
Ridiculous.
weird description for something like that.
It's just, this is such a strange, wild setup. It's like thinking about like Some Like It Hot.
Mm,
It's a mafia movie.
yep.
They're on the run from the mob. They witnessed the St. Valentine's Day massacre. And that's the only reason why they're in drag and on the run. It's just like this is wild that this is balancing like there's mobsters and then there's nerds
Hmm.
and like the eight professor and like the seven professors are just so strange and quirky and weird in each of their own way. And that Billy Wilder dialogue is just so sharp and so funny. And there's a lot of great character work being done creating each of these characters. And everybody like knows the assignment. And then it gets like shockingly like dark.
Oh yeah,
It's just
for
like,
sure.
I'm like, they're all pulling guns on people, and you're just like, oh my god, somebody's gonna get shot.
Hmm.
And you have at the core of this, like Gary Cooper's like this very timid, kind of reserved professor type, and Barbara Stanwyck is mouthy and charming. And this Barbara Stanwyck was she was something else between this Double Indemnity. Um, she was a really fantastic performer, and they had really good chemistry
Oh
together.
yeah, they did.
Um, it's just this is such a silly, wild, ridiculous comedy that brings in a whole bunch of stuff and is able to like stick the landing and deliver something really fun and
Hmm.
enjoyable. And like this is what screwball comedy is.
Oh
Like
yeah, for
for
sure.
sure. And they they just don't mix the screwball comedy like they used to, unless you're the
No,
Coen brothers.
no,
Um,
they definitely don't. There were a couple moments in this was like it felt a little icky at times.
mhm,
And again, it's of the time. Like
yeah.
all the parts where they're like looking down her throat and all of that stuff. uh, It was funny, but I was always like, this I don't know what to do with this. I have a question for you.
Yes.
The ending, do you buy it? Do you think that Potts should have like forgiven her and should have been like, "Yep, I still want to marry you," which by the way, awfully quick, but again, it's of the time, so
Yep.
I get
Hey,
it.
it's one of those kinds of things where it's just like he has this very attractive, very charismatic woman in his lap.
Hmm.
How many other opportunities do you think Potts is going to get in his life?
Not with that attitude, but
He has
I
that attitude. So
I
that's
get
why like that's exactly why he forgave her.
because there was two moments in particular where which I thought were very sweet. When he is talking to Daddy on the phone, and he's just pouring his heart out, and he's just, "Can I call you father?" I'm like, oh, this is kind of cute. Too bad that there's a bunch of mobsters on the other end probably laughing at you and making fun of you. But the part when they're going, like they're traveling to where this mobster is, and they stop somewhere, and it's dark, and he is talking about his feelings and how
Mhm.
this doesn't happen to people like me. And I thought that part was very sweet. And I think that was an appropriate way for her to eventually, like, that was kind of the tipping point, right? Where she's
Well,
like, I actually kind of dig this guy.
well, and he's not a complete like
He's not a
idiot or
stooge.
any.
He's not a
No,
stooge or anything like that. Like
he
he
is the least weird
it is pointed out.
by far.
It is
He
pointed out multiple times that, like, hey, this is a group of bachelors in uh, in in this particular group, and he's the one that is like kind of the most handsome, and he's the one that actually knows how to be social with women. So,
Mhm.
except for the one that's a widower who gives some of the most cringeworthy but best advice about marriage and sex, and in the most weird way that one
Yeah.
could explain something like that. But I think to me that also represents just this group of people. They're all just kind of adorable together, and I think that's one thing that I really liked about this as well, is that this group of professors, they're in it thick and thin, and
Yeah.
I
And
appreciated that.
it's a fun group. It's
Hmm.
like I just can't imagine like sitting in on like these group of guys writing this encyclopedia. Because like they're all so weird and quirky in their own ways, and yet he's like by far, and I think like by far the most socialized,
Yeah.
to say the least. And I feel like I'm gonna quote my wife, who is a BCBA and works with kids on the autism spectrum. I think most of them are on the
Oh
train.
yeah. Yeah, for
they're
sure.
they're like in 1941, they're just weird.
Hmm. Yeah.
AKA they have autism. Uh, it's like, but I think casting Gary Cooper of
Mm.
all people makes this like he's sincere, he's genuine, he's just a kind guy.
Hmm.
And I think that really works for the film and for that dynamic because like this wasn't gonna work if like Potts was like Jerry Lewis,
No,
like
no,
nutty professor level, kind of like silly.
no. It definitely would not have at all.
But
Mm.
like that I was a little surprised that like this was like almost a whole 2 hour movie.
Oh yeah, it was way longer than I thought it was gonna be. And the it's it's not like you had like 10 minutes of credits at the end. It ends, and then
It's like
that's it.
that's the I think I made a comment to Jess while we were watching this. Like movies like this, back then, it was all that like, well, we accomplished the thing and it's over. The end. Goodbye.
Hmm.
And it's done. Like you don't have a whole lot of like, let's explain things out and have some thematic moments here. It's like, no, mission accomplished. Sayonara.
Hmm.
Goodbye. And just like get out of here. Get out of the theater.
Hmm.
So but no, like it's fun watching old movies like this because like if you could get your hands on some Howard Hawks or some Billy Wilder, that's some good shit. And you'll be eating good cinematically.
Yeah, for sure.
Checking out films like this. So, and this is on Peacock.
Yeah.
So, give you an excuse to use your Peacock account.
Sure. Yeah. Peacock got taken to task by Nikki Glazer at the Golden Globes. So yeah, I think everyone needs to watch a thing or two on Peacock now. I did not watch
Watch
this on Peacock.
Conclave.
That is true. I did not watch this on Peacock. I watched this on a library app called Hoopla.
Oh, nice.
Mhm.
Hoopla just reminds me of Hoopla. But no, Hoopla is a if you have a library membership and stuff like that, that's a good one in Canopy.
Yep. Hmm.
Ryder has Canopy.
Very nice. Even
I
better.
lucked out.
Mm.
Except you never know what the hell's on it.
Yep, that is very true.
Never. It's like Just Watch lies to me 90% of the time. It's like it's on Canopy. I'm like, I guarantee you it's not. And also the search function on Canopy is crap.
Well, it's funny because I when I was looking for where to watch this, um Hoopla was the first one that came up, and I was like, okay, I'll do that. And it was weird because I haven't watched anything on Hoopla in a long time, and the first movie that comes up is Hundreds of Beavers. It's like, really? Like of all movies for to be on this site, like, okay, yeah. And I
It's
actually, as soon as I was done, I was like, I'm watching this now because I need
it's
I just want to keep the laughs going. So support your local libraries, I guess, is the
In about
point.
9 years, we'll do Hundreds of Beavers. I'm still waiting in the mail. I have a special physical copy of Hundreds of Beavers coming.
Fantastic. That's
Can't
gonna be
wait for
so
it.
good.
But that is a wrap on another episode of the Wasteland Watchlist. Mike, thank you as always for coming on and watching some random ass shit with me.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for assigning me all the interesting ones. Always appreciate jumping on and talking movies with you, Shane.
And thank all of you for listening. What's some of your favorite old school screwball comedies? And what kind of crazy professions would you pick for your protagonist in your own screwball comedy? It's like, do they run like a street sweeper or something like that? You never know.
It's yeah. The garbage man was almost the inciting incident when he comes in and just wants to ask them a bunch of like trivia questions.
I'm inspired by my wife. I want to write a screwball comedy where the male protagonist is actually studying fungus.
Very nice.
Like Egon.
I collect spores, funguses, and molds.
Collect spores, molds, and fungus. It's like, yeah.
Brilliant delivery there.
See, they could have easily made a screwball comedy about Egon and Annie Potts' character. What do you want?
I'd watch it. Absolutely.
There you go. But make sure to follow or subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast. We have plenty of great content on the SPM Crew Podcasting Network, from movies to television to sports to music to physical media, comics, and just, talking about life with Luke. But we have a lot of great stuff. Check it out. And thank you, High Flyer Creative, for your great logo. If you have any needs, go check them out. But most importantly, thank you as always for tuning in and supporting the Wasteland Watchlist here on the SPM Crew Podcasting Network.